Letby's a scapegoat. She's a whistleblower. She's doing the right thing. And those in power, those who are incompetent and shouldn't be in charge of operations, well, they wanted to find someone to blame. So this gang of four and these administrators have decided to pick Lucy. And now she's in the predicament she's in prison for murder. When she's just someone that sees something and says something. She reported a valve missing off a baby's machine, and then, hey, she was out because she's calling the hospital out. That's what some people want you to believe. That's what people will say in comments. That's what type of comment I've been hearing, and it has been aimed at me. But hey, she's just a whistleblower. She reported a valve missing, and now look. I think these people can't see the forest for the trees. What do I mean by that? We need to look at the whole picture and decide if this really is valid. Let's go back to 2012 and then 2015. Lucy Letby's placements with Liverpool Hospital. She does those 2 placements, and the thorough inquiry has discovered that on 1% of nurses' shifts at that hospital, babies might have more than the average tube displacement. So babies knocking their tubes out, or tubes come loose, somehow this happens. If you took a nurse and looked at 100 of their shifts, this will happen when, sorry, I was distracted, a call's coming through. This will happen on 1 shift out of 100, that the average will bump up for this type of problem. For Lucy Letby, this is on 40% of shifts, and not only on 40% of shifts and slightly higher, but quite above average for the number of tubes being displaced. So that's pretty serious. Shortly after the final placement there, and she's going to the Countess of Chester Hospital to work in the neonatal department, she does a course on air embolism. She completes this course. This means she's able to, I guess, be a mentor or some kind of supervisor to less experienced nurses who haven't done as many of the nursing qualification courses as Lucy has. Two weeks after completing this course, baby A has an air embolism. Then baby B, baby C, baby D, baby E, then baby I, M, O, P, all related to Lucy's shifts. And even if you somehow crunch that down to only be sure about 1 baby, that's 1 baby too many, isn't it? So we've got 9 babies. If Lucy had made a report about a machine missing a valve, as she did, and stating that this could be a root cause for an infection or for air embolus, prior to baby A, B, C, D, I, M, O, P being attacked, well, you might think differently about it. But what actually happened was this pattern, the scenario of Lucy being on shift when these babies are suffering this problem, it was noted. And the hospital took some quite unusual drastic action that would frighten any nurse it happened to. They called her just before a night shift and said, you're not on this shift, you're not doing night shift, we're moving you into another pattern of shifts. And eventually they moved her into an administrative role. So they took her off. And Lucy knows what it's about. Okay, she doesn't have to panic and wonder and try to find out, why am I being removed at the last minute from this shift? This is very unusual. Lucy knows what it's about, and at the first opportunity, so 3 days later, when she's on a different shift and she's looking after a particular baby, 7 hours after starting that shift and after looking after a particular baby, she goes and makes a report that that baby's machine is missing a valve. And she writes in this report, or notes in this report, that this could cause infection, sepsis, or an air embolus. Wow, isn't that bizarre? Also, she's looking after this baby for 7 hours. She didn't notice at any time during that 7 hours. As per usual, I mean, this is Lucy's pattern really for things to happen at the end of a shift. But that's what she's done. It's very contrived. It's very contrived, and this is this year's mug. Don't know if you mind the lipstick. Ask me about my dog, please. Yeah. So when she's questioned by police initially, and she's asked specifically about air embolism, Lucy says that she really doesn't know much about it. When she's pressed later and told, well, we know about your courses, we know that it was part of other courses that are all on your HR record, what do you say to that, Lucy Letby? Well, Lucy Letby has said, oh, well, I know a little bit, and really only about in adults. It doesn't wash. I'm all for a whistleblower. I'm all for see something, say something, and I think that there should be, no punishment for making valid points about anything to do with safety. And I can't remember who it was, but in relation to discussions about Letby, the hospital, the NHS, someone has brought up the airline industry and saying, well, why do they have such a safety record? Why aren't we having more accidents these days? It's because they've got that no error attitude to accidents and mistakes. If a pilot makes a mistake, they do more training. If there's problem with equipment or problem with someone and the way they're working that has caused a mistake, they investigate. There's a discovery, they investigate, and they come up with solutions and they fix it so that things are open and looked at and not covered up and not just left to fester and to have more problems. It's solved, and that's why the safety record's so high for airline travel or any airplane travel. And it's not the same in hospitals. Everybody knows the NHS and hospitals all around the world need an overhaul. Okay, we know this. And no one is jumping down on Letby just for being a whistleblower. Do not be mistaken. Do not be manipulated and think that that's what happened. Oh, because she was calling them out, so she's just been punished and made a scapegoat. It happened that she made the note about damaged equipment after 9 babies were found to have air embolisms. And as I probably just said, if we can somehow whittle that away, and actually it was only 1 baby or 2 that they can't explain, that's 1 or 2 babies too many, isn't it? I'd also say Lucy's a strange kettlefish in many ways. People are basically trying to canonize her, call her diligent, good, focused, the one, to say that she was probably the best on the ward, that she could see what was happening and what was going wrong, and that she was speaking up and that's why she's being punished. It's not the case. A diligent nurse doesn't do quite a number of things that Lucy Letby did. Number one might be taking all those private and confidential documents home. It's unbelievable how many people are writing saying, oh, that's all right, that's normal, we all do it. Well, you're just as unprofessional and you are breaking the same laws, okay? One or two possibly could be a mistake. They should be instantly shredded or returned. This isn't the case. They just somehow made their way home. They followed her home like little lambs, and she had hundreds of documents that she shouldn't have had in her possession and at her parents' home in Hereford. This is not diligence. This is pathological in nature. She would also quite often not write medications administered up straight away. So the date and time, the medication, and the amount administered. It was left for when? Maybe the next day. She did this often, enough for it to be a massive problem. What about the poor nurse or doctor who comes in after and administers drugs to a vulnerable person, baby, and overdoses? They have to cop that, and the child or the baby has suffered. This is unacceptable. It's just not good practice. That is not a diligent nurse. Maybe she's just a mediocre nurse who was in the wrong profession if she can't do these things. But stop canonizing her. You know, I saw a comment saying, oh, you know, because we know the only defense witness brought was a plumber. And fair enough too. I am all for solving these problems. This is a big issue. To have raw sewage backing up into sinks, unacceptable. But someone is saying, well, hey, is it possible? Well, now, and I'm all for speculation based on, you know, but this is ridiculous. This isn't speculation. This is just someone talking out of their ass. What if there's a sink that only Lucy really would use? It was just her habit to do so, and it was one of the ones that had the sewerage, and it's really mainly Lucy, so statistically, of course, that's going to be a problem. Because the others were using another sink and she was using one and others weren't. And there's someone, like either someone very wicked or mischievous or just stupid, or maybe the sarcasm wasn't getting through, but hey, yeah, I really think that's possible. Don't encourage this crap. You know? Don't encourage this crap. People are searching desperately to somehow solve the riddle of Lucy and have her be good. It's something they're very attached to for their own personal reasons. For some, it's clear bias and it's the way the media are, or it's many reasons. In exactly the same way, after these big convictions, people come out of the woodwork in droves, academics, all sorts, okay? And it's just a repeat happening here with Lucy Letby's case. Lucy has a way of manipulating people, and people are lying for her. Catherine DeBegan, who is an occupational health staff member, had Lucy come to her on several occasions, the first report, several occasions, on the anniversary of deaths of these babies, or, you know, at triggering times, to talk about the deaths of babies that had died on her watch, so to speak, babies that she is charged with murdering or harming. And one of the things she would say is, if I'm feeling this bad, what about the pain of the parents? And as you probably realise or know, I do think that Lucy Letby was all about harming the parents. Later, Catherine says, oh, it was just about one baby's death that Lucy did this to. That's clearly a lie. Her first statement was very clear, that on several occasions about the deaths of several babies. And when it was inquired of Catherine de Begin if this was usual, that people would come to occupational health team members to discuss their distress around the death of babies and, you know, things that might have been their milestone, for example, she said never. And she was there for 7 years and it had never happened, not to her at least. And then she's downplaying the several to one occasion. This is a woman that would sign off texts with a cross to Lucy because Lucy was doing the same, you know. So Lucy does have a way of manipulating people to want to protect her, stand up for her, make excuses for her. And I guess if that's your role, to professionally be supporting somebody through a trial of a time, you know, being investigated. Lucy had, you know, really hated being taken off duties to administrative duties, and she would talk to Catherine about that a lot. But Lucy, there was a lot of out of work hours chats, a lot of intimate discussions about Catherine's personal life and Lucy's personal life, and she seems to do this to a lot of people. Dr. A, for example. How was that just a normal, even close colleague relationship? So, you know, I feel like she really does enjoy the dislodgement of tubing and things like that. Disrupting the babies in that regard. It's something so sinister, and it is a common denominator. And the argument that people have, she never Googled modes of killing. Well, she went on a course and was trained in air embolisms, and then that started happening at the hospital on her shifts. She didn't need to Google it. And also it's part of your nurse training, your first year, learning how to inject someone or take blood, you know, without introducing air to the circulatory system. That's first year nursing. She had training that talks about air embolisms, not just a specific course, but things to do with other subjects in nursing that she had qualifications for, and it's on her HR record. And she's just lying to police about, oh, I don't know anything about it. Oh, well, very little. Oh, well, only in adults. I mean, it's her usual MO. She didn't need to be trained in things like, she didn't need to Google insulin and glucose in babies. It's part of her training to be a neonatal nurse. Wouldn't it be interesting, though, to see if sometime after her attacks on baby E and before the attacks on baby I, were there extra training qualifications that Lucy gained in the feeding of infants to do with insulin and glucose? I mean, wouldn't you want to know? But no, it's not because she reported faulty equipment that she is being scapegoated because she's some sort of whistleblower. She made that report about the missing valve when she knew she had been discovered for her evil deeds. It's the bottom line. So yes, I'm all for a whistleblower. NHS and systems all around the world need to get their acts together. We all know this. It's not about that. And people need to be supported. So as long as they're not being malicious and vicious in their reports, safety should come first. And things shouldn't be hidden so that nothing is fixed and problems keep occurring. But we need to look at everything as a whole, be very realistic. Was Lucy Letby really a very honourable, diligent, wonderful nurse? Was she just purely mediocre or dangerous because, yes, her practice wasn't that good? That was something that she'd say, oh, I'm just worried that they're going to find that my practice isn't good. Well, she thought her practice was most excellent and she had no problem telling people about it. So that doesn't really ring true. It wasn't that she was afraid they would discover something about her practice, although any nurse might be worried about that, and we should take that worry out. We should make them understand that we just want you to improve your practice. You can keep training. We will support you to become better. We're going to improve standards for everybody. It doesn't happen, you know, and I think there's a lot of politics and backstabbing and all sorts of things that go on amongst nursing staff. I really do, no matter how good the culture might seem. It did seem like there was a very good culture actually at the Countess of Chester. Quite a few of them appeared to be quite good friends and socialised a lot. But it doesn't mean that they were all friends or that there weren't nurses that were trying to elevate themselves by making sure that they were seen to be superior. I think that happens in many professions, you know. Yeah, so again, wanted to make a commentary about comments that I'm seeing, some of them that have been told directly to me by people who don't seem to understand what they are talking about. Oh, how long have I got? I mean, even with these notes, she's scribbling on scraps of paper and people are quoting, they're coming out and commenting as if it's been quoted directly by counsellors. The way things are written, people are very shifty and sneaky, and they do this to manipulate you into thinking you've heard something that you haven't. Maybe for the main reason, it's to persuade you, and so you'll go out and persuade others about a falsity. The way it's written up in the Telegraph, they're not saying actually that she was told to do this. It's very shifty. And she would have written it up in a notepad probably, right? These little post-it notes and scraps of paper with all these commentaries on them about how she feels about herself and what she might have done. It's so crazy what comments are made, and then, you know, the capital R repeaters just go to work. And the people that start these rumours off, yes, job done. Move on to the next one. Anyway, that's enough, isn't it? I've got to go to work. Enjoy my ask me about my dog, please, coffee first. So this is going to take forever to upload, but maybe it'll be uploaded by the time I'm back home again from work. And we can have a conversation in the comment sections. Look, I will try and remain civil. You know, I generally, as a general rule, I try to refrain from ad hominems, etc. But, you know, look, I've never said I'm a nice or good or kind person. I'm not. And I do lose my shit sometimes. And I can be quite nasty. So I will try to be more professional in the comment section, but you know, very open to have a discussion about it. See you later.